The rain fell in relentless, silvery sheets, blurring the neon sign of the 24-hour diner. Inside, Leo shivered, the cold seeping through his thin jacket. He had been turned out of the only home he'd ever known, a stranger in a life that wasn't his. Huddled in the doorway, he was watching a stray cat lap at a puddle when Caleb found him. Caleb, the quiet boy from school, the one the old Leo and his friends had tormented relentlessly. Without a word, Caleb led him inside and ordered 3 bowls of thick, steaming chili. Leo ate with a desperation that bordered on feral, scraping the ceramic clean with his spoon. He knew this meal was an anomaly, a fleeting moment of grace. He wondered if he'd live long enough to see the day chili was cheap again. Caleb had paid with a crumpled 20, his own dinner consisting of nothing more than black coffee in a stained mug. Leo followed him back into the deluge. Caleb's limp was more pronounced in the wet cold, his gait a syncopated rhythm of heavy and light steps against the pavement. His left leg was shorter, a permanent, cruel reminder of past torments. After a block, Caleb stopped, his breath fogging in the air. He said that he had no more money, a clear dismissal. Leo averted his gaze, murmuring something about the astonishing amount of rain, acting as if their meeting was pure coincidence. Caleb saw right through the flimsy act. He told him not to follow. But the warmth of the chili was a tether, a debt Leo felt compelled to repay. He took a deep breath, the city air thick with the smell of wet asphalt, and confessed his plan to be Caleb's shadow, his helper, a way to atone. Caleb let out a short, mirthless laugh. He asked how exactly Leo planned to do that. His eyes swept over Leo's threadbare clothes, a silent, damning inventory of his worthlessness. Leo clutched the zipper of his jacket, a hand-me-down from a sympathetic housekeeper, the last relic of his former life. He whispered that he would be an apprentice, a gopher, anything. He was small, he insisted, and wouldn't take up much space. He had seen the way Caleb looked at people sometimes. He knew Caleb wasn't interested in girls. Leo figured once he was cleaned up and had some meat on his bones, he might be something Caleb could appreciate. Caleb turned and walked away, leaving Leo to trail behind like a ghost. They arrived at a rundown brick tenement building, the kind with iron fire escapes zigzagging up its face. Caleb's apartment was a 5th-floor walk-up. He unlocked the door with a key attached to a small, weathered St. Christopher medal. Leo found his eyes drawn to the tarnished silver charm, recognizing it from the original story as a crucial link to Caleb's past. Caleb noticed his stare and his expression soured. He quickly pocketed the keys and blocked the doorway. He told Leo to take a good look, that the room was already at maximum capacity. The space was impossibly small, a single room where a mattress, a hot plate, a bookshelf, and a desk fought for territory. It was cramped but clean, organized with a kind of desperate precision. Sunlight, even on this gray day, fought its way through the single large window. It was more than Leo expected. Caleb misinterpreted his silence as disgust. He remarked with a bitter edge that this was a far cry from the sprawling suburban mansion Leo was used to. He suggested Leo had seen enough and should leave. Panic seized Leo. The sky was darkening, the rain was relentless, and the streets held nothing for him. He grabbed the sleeve of Caleb's worn flannel shirt, his voice cracking with a humility he'd never known. He insisted he wasn't a thing, he was a person, a very thin person who ate very little. Caleb's gaze was flat. He drily inquired as to the identity of the person who had just inhaled 3 bowls of chili. He was shut out. The heavy wooden door closed with a definitive click. Leo understood. The person he was now inhabited the body of a monster. The old Leo had been a tyrant, and Caleb had been his favorite target. He and his cronies had tormented Caleb for a year, all because a girl Leo liked had asked Caleb for help with a calculus problem. Vicious names, a constant barrage of shoves and trips aimed at his weaker leg. The memories, not his own but vivid all the same, flooded his mind. He deserved Caleb's hatred. He whispered an apology to the closed door and turned to leave. A strange sense of gratitude mixed with his despair. It was his 18th birthday, and instead of facing violent retribution, he'd been given the best meal of his life. Thank you, Caleb, he thought. Lost in his misery, he misjudged the top step of the worn staircase. His foot slipped and he tumbled down, landing with a hard, painful thud on the landing below. A sharp pain shot through his tailbone. The body he wore was sensitive, unaccustomed to hardship, and the agony left him breathless. He sat there for a long moment, trying to will the stars from his vision. As he struggled to his feet, a voice from above cut through the sound of the rain, told him to come up. Caleb was standing in the open doorway, a silhouette against the dim light of his apartment. Leo couldn't make out his expression, but he assumed it was one of grim satisfaction. He didn't care. He scrambled back up the stairs, a clumsy, ingratiating smile plastered on his face. He told Caleb he was a good person. Caleb cut him off, stating he could stay for one night only. Leo nodded enthusiastically, a silent explosion of relief detonating in his chest. Tomorrow was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, he had a roof over his head. Inside, Leo felt acutely aware of his own filth in the spotless apartment. He hadn't showered in 3 days. Caleb took one look at him and pointed him toward a tiny bathroom. He explained that there was no hot water heater. He'd have to boil water on the hot plate. Leo, desperate not to be a further imposition, declared that a cold shower would be fine. It was summer after all. He claimed to be robust. Caleb gave him a look Leo couldn't decipher, then left him to it. After washing himself and his clothes in the cold water, Leo realized his mistake. He had nothing to change into. He poked his head out of the bathroom, trying to communicate his predicament with wide, pathetic eyes. Caleb merely stared back, confused. Finally, Leo had to ask if he could borrow some clothes. With a sigh of irritation, Caleb wordlessly handed him a plain white t-shirt and a pair of gray shorts. Outside the door, Caleb sat at his desk, staring at a calculus textbook. The formulas swam before his eyes, refusing to cohere. The image that kept intruding was of the boy in the bathroom, a flash of pale skin, shockingly white against the grimy tile. He wondered aloud to the empty room how any guy could be so fair-skinned. Leo made a pallet on the floor beside Caleb's bed and fell into an exhausted sleep, convinced that Caleb, despite everything, was a truly decent human being. He resolved to wake up early and prove his worth. A hand was shaking his face hard. Leo's eyes fluttered open. Caleb was leaning over him, his expression unreadable. Leo scrambled to sit up, a wave of dizziness washing over him. He was in Caleb's bed. Panic flared. He must have moved in his sleep. He apologized profusely, convinced this was the last straw. Caleb looked at him strangely and asked what he was sorry for. He informed Leo that he had a fever and needed to take some medicine. That explained the woolly feeling in his head. Caleb's demeanor was cool, but he held out a glass of water and 2 pills, and had already placed a damp washcloth on Leo's forehead. The fever was a relentless tide, pulling him under and pushing him back. In his delirium, he clung to Caleb's hand, pleading not to be thrown out, promising he had changed, that he would eat less, that he wouldn't be a burden. When he next woke, it was dusk. Caleb was at his desk, the focused glow of a single lamp illuminating his work. He hadn't been abandoned. A wave of relief so potent it was almost painful washed over him. He struggled to sit up, his body aching as if he'd been beaten, his throat raw. He watched the straight, determined line of Caleb's back and managed to croak out his thanks. It seemed to be the word he used most often these days. His voice was a hoarse whisper, like a dying duck. Caleb turned, switched on the overhead light, and asked if he was hungry. Remembering his fevered promises, Leo shook his head no. His stomach immediately betrayed him with a loud, embarrassing growl. A flicker of amusement crossed Caleb's face. He told him to wait. It struck Leo that since he'd gotten sick, Caleb's attitude had softened ever so slightly. Soon, 2 plates of scrambled eggs and toast were on the small table that served as both a desk and a dining area. Leo ate 1 piece of toast and then put his fork down. He couldn't be a parasite. He was afraid of eating Caleb out of house and home. Caleb glanced at him, noting that there was more in the pan and this one meal wasn't going to bankrupt him. But Leo, feeling a strange new sense of pride, puffed out his stomach and insisted he was full. After the meal, Leo insisted on washing the dishes. He who does not work shall not eat. As he stood at the small sink, he felt eyes on him. He turned to find Caleb leaning against the doorframe, watching him with a complex expression. Leo froze, worried he'd done something wrong. Caleb remarked that he'd always pictured Leo as a pampered prince who'd never seen the inside of a kitchen. Leo felt a blush creep up his neck. The character he was playing was being shattered. But he reasoned that the real Leo, after being cast out, might have been forced to learn such things. He mumbled something about how washing dishes wasn't exactly rocket science. Caleb studied him for a few more seconds before turning back to his books. Leo exhaled, relieved. He watched Caleb already immersed in his studies. The boy was a machine. It was no wonder he would become the valedictorian, earn a full ride to a top university, and leave this life behind. He deserved it all. As for himself, Leo knew returning to school was impossible. He would have to find a job as soon as he was well enough. He couldn't freeload forever. The next morning, Leo woke early and, wanting to do something useful, made a simple breakfast of tomato soup and grilled cheese. He tidied the small apartment, took out the trash, and wiped down the floors. When Caleb emerged, he stopped dead, his face hardening as he stared at the meal. He asked if Leo had made it. Leo's stomach dropped. He asked if Caleb didn't like it, offering to make something else. Caleb's expression was grim. He said he was eating out and left without another word, his limp a punctuation mark to his anger. Watching him go, Leo suddenly remembered a detail from the story. Tomato soup had been Caleb's mother's specialty. She had abandoned him when he was 5, and he had never eaten it since. The St. Christopher medal was the only thing she'd left him. The depth of his hatred was matched only by the depth of his unspoken love. Leo had messed up again. He ran out after him, but by the time he reached the end of the alley, Caleb was gone. He hadn't even had a chance to apologize. Defeated, he turned back, only to run straight into a group of menacing-looking guys. The leader, a redhead named Vince with malice in his eyes, smirked. He greeted Leo with mock deference, remarking on how far the great man had fallen. Vince was the old Leo's sworn enemy. Now, the power dynamic had violently shifted. Vince asked him what he was up to. Leo knew from the story what was coming. This neighborhood, a maze of old buildings and blind alleys, was the perfect hunting ground. He backed away, but there was nowhere to run. Vince sneered, telling him he would soon find out his purpose. Two of Vince's friends grabbed Leo's arms and shoved him into a waiting car. The car sped through the city, ending up in front of a sleek private club, a former haunt of the old Leo. Vince pushed him out of the car and into a private room filled with familiar, sneering faces. They were all there to watch the show. With the protection of his family name gone, Leo was nothing. Vince kicked him hard from behind, sending him stumbling. He caught himself before he fell, an act of defiance that seemed to enrage Vince further. He grabbed a bottle of beer from a table and poured its cold, sticky contents over Leo's head. Leo stood there, dripping and humiliated, but said nothing. Fighting back was pointless. His passivity seemed to amuse the crowd. They jeered, calling him spineless, remarking on his thrift store clothes. Former friends now sided with Vince, eager to curry favor. After another round of shoves and punches, Vince grabbed Leo's chin, forcing him to look up. He taunted him, asking where his sharp tongue had gone, demanding he speak. Leo remained silent. Vince's frustration grew. He asked how it felt to be a dog, to have nothing. He offered, with a lewd grin, to pimp Leo out, commenting that his pretty, pale face might be worth something to the right people. The old Leo would have exploded with rage at the insult to his masculinity. This new Leo felt nothing. The insults weren't for him. He even thanked Vince for the backhanded compliment but declined the offer. His lack of reaction deflated Vince like a punctured tire. The satisfaction of tormenting a statue was minimal. In the corner, a well-dressed young man had been watching silently. Leo recognized him instantly. Julian, the true heir, the boy whose life Leo had stolen. Vince, seeking to impress, presented Leo to him like a trophy. Julian rose and walked over, his expression one of pure contempt. He called Leo a thief. Leo, understanding the bitterness that must have festered in Julian for 18 years, offered a quiet, sincere apology. Julian was taken aback. This wasn't the arrogant monster he'd heard about. He hesitated, his desire for revenge apparently waning. He told Vince they were done and left, advising him not to go too far. With the main event over, Vince and his crew quickly lost interest. They delivered a few parting kicks and warned Leo to stay away before leaving. As the door swung shut, Leo overheard snippets of conversation from onlookers in the hall. Some pitied him. Others said he got what he deserved. A kind soul asked if he needed help or wanted to call the police. Leo shook his head. He had no power, no money for a hospital. The pain was immense, a throbbing symphony in his bones. He wondered if this was how Caleb had felt all those times. As he staggered toward the exit, he saw a familiar figure standing in the crowd. Caleb. His face was a cold, unreadable mask. He must be relishing this, Leo thought. Poetic justice. Before he could reach him, the world tilted and went black. He awoke in the familiar, cramped apartment. Caleb was carefully cleaning a cut on his cheek, his touch surprisingly gentle. He had brought him home. Again. The realization brought tears to Leo's eyes. Caleb was the only person who had shown him any kindness. He thanked him, then apologized for everything the old Leo had done, asking if the pain had been this bad for him. Caleb just told him he was an idiot. He admitted that he never really cared about the childish bullying. All he had ever wanted was to grow up and get away from it all. He looked at Leo then, a long, searching look, and remarked that he didn't remember Leo being the type to let people walk all over him. Leo mumbled something about being young and foolish back then, avoiding Caleb's gaze. For a second, he was sure Caleb knew his secret. But Caleb didn't press the issue. Caleb tended to his bruises, his expression grim but his hands light. Leo, remembering his earlier mistake, apologized for the tomato soup. He asked if he could stay, just until he healed, promising he would leave then. He looked up at Caleb, trying to project as much pathetic, pleading energy as he could. Caleb looked away, a faint blush creeping up the back of his neck. He muttered that Leo could do as he pleased. He asked if Leo would be okay on his own for a few hours. Caleb tutored on weekends, a job he never missed. But Leo knew he had taken a day off when he'd been sick. Racked with guilt, Leo insisted he was fine. He could rest. Another crisis averted. Caleb had let him stay. That evening, Caleb came home with a folding cot and a new set of blankets. He insisted Leo take the bed. For the first time, Leo felt like he wasn't astray anymore. He had a home, however small. The bruises took a week to fade from purple to a sickly yellow. Leo exaggerated his discomfort, limping around the apartment long after the pain had subsided. It was a silent, unspoken agreement. He stayed, and Caleb didn't ask him to leave. The woman who ran the corner bodega downstairs took a liking to Leo and gave him small jobs. Stocking shelves, sweeping up. The work was easy, and he earned his first real money. With his small earnings, he went to a department store. Caleb's birthday was coming up. He bought him a new, soft hoodie, thick socks to help with his leg on cold days, and a special heating pad. He also bought a box of fancy donuts he knew Caleb liked, and a small carton of raspberries for himself. On a whim, he decided to meet Caleb after school. Worried about running into old enemies, he hid in the bushes near the school gate and texted him from the second-hand phone Caleb had bought him. Half an hour passed. His legs were cramping. Then he heard Caleb's voice, talking to the class president. The student was asking Caleb why he wasn't taking the free dorm room the school offered for top students during the final exam push. It would be more convenient, he argued. Leo strained to hear Caleb's reply. He thought he saw Caleb glance in his direction. Caleb said nonchalantly that he'd taken in a stray cat, and he couldn't just abandon it. The president was surprised, pointing out Caleb's own precarious financial situation. Caleb just said the cat was special. He described it as having a bad temper and a huge appetite, but also being kind of cute and interesting to have around. Leo's heart sank. A cat. Caleb was spending what little money he had on a cat. A biting, ill-tempered cat. Was there no room left for him now? He resolved to eat even less. He had to be better than the cat. When Caleb finally came over to the bushes, he offered no explanation. All the way home, Leo stood in silence. He searched the apartment high and low but found no evidence of a feline. Caleb watched him, a smirk playing on his lips. That night, Leo dreamed of a beautiful, haughty Siamese cat that stole his bed, ate from his bowl, and curled up in Caleb's lap while Caleb pushed him out into the rain. He woke with a start. The next morning, he confronted a sleepy Caleb, demanding to see the cat. Caleb burst out laughing. He admitted there was no cat. It was just a joke for his friend. Leo pressed him, asking if he was sure. Caleb, still chuckling, assured him he could barely afford to feed himself, let alone a pet. Relief washed over Leo. At breakfast, he ate 2 bowls of cereal. The SAT scores were released. Caleb was the city's valedictorian, with offers from every top university. Leo, on the other hand, had nowhere to go. Caleb, frustrated, gave him a practice test. Leo's results were abysmal. He'd been on his own since he was 16. Formal education was a distant memory. He told Caleb it was hopeless. He didn't have the money for tuition anyway. Caleb's anger was a quiet, simmering thing. He called Leo a blockhead. Leo tried to placate him, saying he would follow Caleb to whatever city he chose. They could get an apartment just like now. Caleb would go to school and Leo would work. Caleb insisted it wasn't the same. He argued that with Leo's naive nature, the world would eat him alive. Leo gently explained that everyone has their own path. Caleb was brilliant, but Leo wasn't. All he wanted was to be safe and fed. And he had Caleb for that. The school held a large awards ceremony for scholarship recipients. Both Leo and Caleb were in high spirits until a woman in a pale blue dress walked past. Caleb's face went pale. He followed her for 3 blocks. She was elegant, with familiar lines around her eyes. Leo knew who she was. Caleb's mother. She had a new family now, a handsome husband and a little girl. They were happy. She didn't even recognize her own son as they passed on the street. Leo watched Caleb's entire posture deflate, as if his strings had been cut. At that exact moment, without any impact, the chain on his St. Christopher medal snapped. The silver charm clattered to the sidewalk and was lost in a grate. Back at the apartment, Caleb was silent for hours. In the middle of the night, he sat up and asked if Leo was awake. Leo, who hadn't been able to sleep, said he was. Caleb apologized for his earlier anger and then, for the first time, told Leo about his mother, about being abandoned at 5, about growing up on the charity of neighbors. When he finished, Leo's eyes were wet. He asked if he could hug Caleb. He didn't wait for an answer, wrapping his arms around Caleb's tense shoulders. He promised Caleb they were a family now, that he would never be alone again. He told him that she was the one who had lost something valuable, not him. Caleb's body relaxed into the embrace. Outside, a thunderstorm broke. Leo instinctively looked at Caleb's leg. The rain always made it worse. He remembered a massage technique an old woman at the bodega had taught him and offered to try it. As he gently worked on the muscles in Caleb's calf, he decided it was time. When he was done, he sat back and held his hands out as if in surrender. He confessed everything. That he wasn't from this world, that he wasn't the real Leo, that he had been occupying his body. He told Caleb to hit him if he was angry, that he was sorry for deceiving him for so long. Caleb's reaction was unervingly calm. He admitted he'd known for a long time. He said it wasn't hard to tell the difference between a cruel idiot and someone who'd thank a stranger for selling them out. From their very first meeting at the diner, he had known something was different. Leo could only marvel at how perceptive he was. The next morning, an envelope was slid under their door. It was from Caleb's mother. The letter was a tapestry of excuses and self-pity, explaining her new, happy life and her desire not to disrupt it. It ended with a plea for understanding and a cashier's check for a sum large enough to last a lifetime. She hoped they would never meet again. Caleb read the letter once, then calmly tore it into tiny pieces and dropped it in the trash. He deposited the check, then came home and stood in the middle of the room, looking utterly lost. Leo went to him and held him. Caleb's full weight sagged against him, his head resting on Leo's shoulder. He whispered that Leo was all he had left. Leo stroked his hair and promised he would always be there. They moved to the city where Caleb's university was located. They rented a small, sunny apartment near campus. With Caleb's patient tutoring, the dry, academic subjects finally began to make sense to Leo. He failed his first attempt at the college entrance exams, his nerves getting the better of him. But Caleb coached him through another year of studying. On his second try, he scored high enough to get into a decent state school just across town. It wasn't prestigious, but it was close to Caleb. It was perfect. Caleb thrived at university, winning awards and accolades. Suitors, both male and female, were plentiful, but he turned them all down. Rumors swirled until someone snapped a picture of him and Leo walking across the quad, holding hands. The whispers started then, sharp and cruel. People said Leo was a leech, a stain on Caleb's perfect record, a weight dragging him down. Caleb's response was unwavering. He told anyone who would listen that Leo was not a burden. He was family, the kind that never leaves. He confessed to a friend, loud enough for Leo to overhear, that it wasn't Leo who needed him, but he who couldn't live without Leo. The wind on campus was strong that afternoon, whipping their hair and clothes. It didn't matter. Their hands were tightly clasped, an anchor against any storm. They would not be separated.